We just got a huge update on Kindom Come Deliverance 2. On May 15th, aka in just 2 days, a major new update with patch 1.3 and the game's first DLC are dropping. This is going to contain a ton of new features, both free and paid, and just recently Warhorse did a dev stream showing off much of this. So combining that with some of the other recent info, I want to show you what's to come for Kindom Come Deliverance 2, starting with patch 1.3. This is also coming on May 15th. It's a completely free download, just a general update to the game, and it's going to include quite a few things. Several balance changes have been described, particularly around Kuttenberg, but also larger features like horse racing is finally getting added. Horse racing will be completely free to use, and you can start this by interacting with a new NPC at the Nomads camp. This is broken up into two categories, just typical horse racing, similar to what we have in game already, but also something a bit unique with horse archery challenges. In these, you'll be riding around a horse on horseback and have to hit certain targets in the allotted time frame. So you have to hit targets to raise your own score and hopefully beat your opponent's score, but also have an overarching time limit. So you do have to be fairly fast to get to enough targets in time. During these, you can pick from different difficulty levels. This is the easiest one in the background, but going up in difficulty can yield things like obstacles to jump over, and of course your opponent's score being a lot higher. And you can even make wagers on yourself and choose different archery courses for a change of scenery and challenge, with the devs describing that different courses have different strategies on going fast versus slow, as well as which targets you should be focusing. Different targets have different point allocations, and even higher difficulties have different modifiers, like not actually being able to automatically follow the path as you're riding. So there's a fair amount of depth here. The crux is hitting targets with arrows, but there are a ton of courses with plenty of modifiers to keep this interesting several times over. Oh yeah, and just if you're curious, the skeleton horse is a mod. That's not a new feature of this update or DLC. There's also, of course, going to be regular horse races. Here, you'll still pick from a variety of courses and several difficulty levels. But the horse race itself will be far more freeform. You can see smoke in the distance to indicate where you have to go, and as long as you're not playing on hardcore mode, there's going to be a marker on your compass. But how you get to that checkpoint is largely left up to you. There's no real track around you, and knowing the surrounding area can be used to your advantage here. Shortcuts or even long cuts are totally a thing in these races. Sometimes you're going to cut through a forest and find, oh yeah, I just got to that marker way faster. Other times you're going to find even more obstacles around you. And stealth is even somewhat of a component of these. If you know about a quiet corner out of sight and can lead an opponent there, the devs do describe that you can take out other riders as long as nobody sees you do it. And finding the best route to that next marker is a real mechanic here. The devs describe how the higher the difficulty, the more optimal of a line the other riders will use. So in higher difficulties, they're just going to be inherently more efficient riders. And honestly, to me, both of these look like a ton of fun. They have a bit more going on with the various target types and different race routes, which does add a healthy amount of replayability. And of course, if you get good at this, you can place bets on yourself to make some nice coin. The harder the race, the larger the bets you can place. So as you get better and better, you can make a decent amount of money here. And there will be a free quest added to tie this all in. They don't show it during the stream, but they describe how there will be a quest involving a conflict over which race is better, archery or the regular horse race. And honestly, that sounds really fun and incredibly fitting for a Kindom Come Deliverance 2 quest. And depending on who you side with, you will get new perks and even some new items through all of that. That's a bigger free feature coming with patch 1.3, but in addition to all of that, Warhorse has compiled a big list of user complaints and feedback. This being partially based off just what users are complaining or posting about, but also some of the data from the game. So they are also implementing a variety of balance changes as well as bug fixes in patch 1.3. And during the stream, we got to hear about some of these. A lot of this serving to make Kuttenberg just a higher tier area overall. Merchants across the game will now have more money, so dumping some of that valuable gear will be even easier, and it's described how the merchants in Kuttenberg will see the biggest upgrade here. The enemies around Kuttenberg are also getting some changes. Now those enemies are going to hit you for more damage and just generally use better armors. So this will effectively be a sword nerf and a blunt weapon buff in that second region. To get through and deal damage, you're going to more often have to use blunt weapons instead of swords, which otherwise just dominate the game, as well as enemies are not going to drop the highest quality of items nearly as often. You can see here in the current version of the game, taking down one mercenary, I almost get a full suite of high tier armor. But in patch 1.3, that won't be the case, and you'll have to rely far more heavily on vendors to get some of these top tier items, and many of them are going to become a bit more expensive after the update. And just overall, they describe working to make some of the content in the Kuttenberg region a lot less trivial. As well as now, when you sleep in somebody's somebody's owned bed but aren't trespassing, the NPC will simply wake you up and tell you to leave as opposed to you committing a crime or getting a bounty. If you've downloaded and begun using some Kindom Come Deliverance 2 mods, this update will break some of those. But Warhorse did something really cool and actually reached out to Nexus Mods as well as other members of the modded community ahead of time to share some insight on what's going to be changed with patch 1.3. And Nexus even added a tag to the website so you could see which mods are 1.3 ready, because some things will be even easier to mod now. Multiple mods will be able to impact a singular inventory preset at the same time. That previously just wasn't possible. There was a bug where some localization mods could load out of order previously, but that was resolved. And just overall, this is big. Warhorse just jumped into official mod support and is already doing a better job than a lot of other companies with the very first update after mod support. This is seriously amazing from them and something I hope we see continue, not only from them, but even from others. But on May 15th, we are not only going to be getting the release of patch 1.3, as this will also include the release of Brushes with Death, the new DLC questline available for purchase or included with your gold edition of the game. This new DLC is focused around a mysterious and philosophical painter and a death. During the recent dev stream, Warhorse gave us a bit of a preview of what's included with the DLC, but if you do want to go in blind, some creators have received review codes and those should be coming out on release day, so you could have a more informed buyer opinion. Although honestly here, we're just showing some light spoilers, and unfortunately I did not receive a review code. But otherwise, if you're interested in this DLC, I do have good news. You're able to start this almost immediately after you get into the game, right after you wake up in Troskowitz. The DLC questline will be startable. During the dev stream, they show us one of the deeper in quests. They don't actually say how the quest will start, but based off this teaser trailer from Twitter, it certainly looks like we're just going to find this painter tied up to a tree with a bunch of items in front of him. But then things will continue from Trotsky Castle and even reportedly Kutenberg. But during the dev stream, we do get to see this painter's room in Trotsky Castle. And what I have to imagine happens here is basically you rescue him out here, likely with some story about why he's tied up to a tree with a bunch of his items skewed on the grass in front of him. But then once you get him set up in Trotsky Castle, he'll likely stay here for most of the DLC. And what we do actually know about this quest, and again, just light spoilers from very early on here, is that this painter is interested in religion, or really what happened before the current religion. So specifically, we're going to help him find an old pagan shrine.
What kind of place are you looking for?
Well, I hope you won't think I'm a heretic, but I'm curious what people believed in before they'd heard the word of the Lord. What did they think would happen after death? And where did they worship their idols?
We don't get many details on the story beyond that, but the devs did describe how Brushes with Death was developed simultaneously with the base game, and as such, this should be the smallest of the DLCs to drop. But it does sound like this will dive into the supernatural, at least to some degree. It seems like this will almost be similar to the Demons of Trotsky, where it's supernatural, quote unquote, but perhaps as you peel back some of the layers, some stuff starts to make a lot more sense in the real world. And just overall, it looks like we're trying to solve some kind of mysterious murder with this painter, which to me honestly sounds like a ton of fun. But what we do get a good look at during this dev stream is the extra feature that comes with this DLC, that with shield painting, which you can do via this new painter NPC. And there's going to be a ton of customization here. You can choose different patterns to cover the shield overall, but then also change each of the colors included with that pattern for some more unique looks. And if you notice these color names are a bit odd, this is just an insane attention to detail that we've honestly come to expect from Warhorse. Yeah, these are real world medieval color names. That's why you're seeing things like vert or peacock feather. That's actually what they were calling some of these colors back then. There are further several categories of symbols that you can lay on top of that patterned and colored design. These ranging from quest or faction related heraldry to various animals and even religious icons. What you might notice is some of these categories had very few choices, but that's not a bug and that's not a lack of content. The way these symbols are going to work is many of these are going to be unlocked by you completing quests or potentially even visiting notable locations. Then after you go there and return to this painter, you'll have a bunch of new symbols available to you. And don't fret, this will update on your existing save, so it's not like you have to revisit or recomplete all of those quests. The symbols will just automatically populate for what you have done already. And this will vary somewhat from shield to shield, with even further pattern and design options for some of the larger shields in the game. But just overall, I think this is a minor but really cool feature. Compared to other RPGs, KCD2 was definitely missing at least a bit of this personal player customization, but now between the Barber update and this shield customization, I really think they've moved things in a positive direction and honestly a big way. But with that said, that is your update on Kindom Come Deliverance 2. This week's going to be incredibly busy for this game. Unfortunately, I actually have something something already going on exactly when this update comes out, so I won't have the update video on the same day, but I will still be covering the DLC as well as some of the secret changes to come from this patch, so get subscribed for all of that.
Show what you're made of.